Round 3 for Alex here. He's had a terrific evening on his signature Abzan Maverick. Last round he's playing against Mark, who we saw a couple days ago playing Death and Taxes. Before he was playing against Seba, of course. Now, Maverick versus Death and Taxes. Mostly these decks are trying to do somewhat similar things. They're both not afraid to hit your mana, try to keep you down a little. Death and Taxes is probably more all in on that, whereas Maverick just tries to disrupt you, play a Knight of the Reliquary, and then just beat you down really efficiently. Much more efficiently than Death and Taxes. Now, Alex getting a turn 2 Knight of the Reliquary, Mark getting a turn 2 Stoneforge Mystic. I'd say about the same. But in the long run, I think the Knight is probably going to be a lot better than whatever this Stoneforge Mystic is going to find, which is probably going to be a better skull. Worth mentioning, this is before Mono Horizons 2. So, no Cauldra. Cauldra would probably be pretty good here. I believe, right? Yeah, because it gives Indestructible. Yeah. Cauldra Germ would just be able to block the Knight of Reliquary if need be. But Mark opting for the better skull here. But is most likely going to have to find some sort of answer for this Knight of Reliquary. Most likely a Sword of Plowshares. If he has it in hand, he could play a land and cast a Skyclave Apparition. That would also be a very, very decent play. I do see another Stoneforge Mystic and a Flicker Wisp, I believe. Is that a Swords of Plowshares? Kind of hard to see. We have a Questing Beast coming out for Alex. Alex out for blood right now. The Knight of the Reliquary isn't the biggest card right now. It's only a 2/2. But that Questing Beast is definitely gonna put some pressure here. I would imagine this attack is mostly free. Because Mark does decide to block, then that Batterskull is not coming in for a bit. Alex showing he has Bayou. Once Upon a Time. I didn't quite catch the third card here. Mark holding his hand just slightly out of sight here. Yeah, that is a Once Upon a Time, a Bayou, and a Wasteland. That's not unwanted, I would imagine. Mark here going down to 16. A Questing Beast putting in some work. Knight of Reliquary gonna tap away the Bayou, I think? So Alex seems to have played away. Oh, that. Right. Alex activated the Knight for a Wasteland to get rid of the Rishadan Port. That's what's happening here. And he's doing it during his turn so that Mark doesn't have the opportunity to activate these. No, he did do it during Mark's turn, but Mark decides not to activate the Mystic. So I would assume he has a Sword of Plowshares in hand if he goes with that line. Not quite seeing Alex's draw here. I think it's a land, but he still has to Wasteland in case he needs it. Alex casting Once Upon a Time with green mana still floating. Just in a really solid position here. Mark stumbling on land. And Alex just applying pressure here. See a couple good hits. Hex Drinker, Scavenging Ooze. Ooze could be interesting if there are more creatures in the graveyard, but for now I think the Hex Drinker. Yeah, the Hex Drinker is going to be a much better pick here. Still has a green floating, so I would imagine he plays that for free. Yeah, his draw for the turn was a Verdant Catacombs. Alright. So he could play Hex Drinker and then immediately put it to level 3, which of course gives it protection from instants. Now, if he does that, he does kind of leave himself open to being plowed. But I don't really mind that, to be honest. Because if he decides to plow the Hex Drinker, sure, it takes a lot of mana away from Alex this turn, but Alex doesn't really do anything else with the mana this turn. And meanwhile, it also kind of guarantees that this Questing Beast is going to be able to keep playing for at least another turn. So I think at the end, that's gonna be really good for Alex. Like, of course, you'd rather have the 4/4, but I think Alex will take it. Absolutely. Now, we also have 3 lands in the graveyard, so that Night of Reliquary is also a 5/5, and we also have the 4/4 Questing Beast. This is pressure. This is a clock. And the Swords is coming out, hitting the Hex Drinker, as we thought. Which means Alex is going to 21. And now the Questing Beast and the Night Reliquary are gonna attack. Mark decides not to block with the Stoneforge Mystic, which means he goes to 7. And I think this might be game for him. Now he's thinking about filing in something during Alex's end step, which is going to be a second Stoneforge Mystic. And I think if you're filing in the Stoneforge Mystic, you want to block Mark. Not sure why you wouldn't block here. Maybe there is a reason. If you can think of a good reason why Mark wouldn't block here, leave it in the comments, because I'm not so sure. And Mark isn't so sure about what he's actually gonna fetch for here. He's thinking of the Jitte, but I don't think Jitte is actually gonna do anything here. I'm not sure if he has the Sword of Feast and Famine, which wouldn't be the worst here. I mean, he's definitely gonna have to put the Better Skull into play here if he can anyway. Decides to go for a sort of Fire and Ice instead. Now that Better Skull is gonna have to come in and jump, I think. And then Mark is gonna be able to use his Ether File for the Flicker Wisp that I'm pretty sure I saw. He has a Swords. I see a third Stoneforge Mystic. That's not ideal. Decides not to put it into play. Draws Caracas. Yeah, it does in fact seem to have the Flicker Wisp. And Mark is in trouble. Mark is in a lot of trouble right now. I think he would have been in a better position if he uh was actually jump blocking with that Stoneforge Mystic, because he doesn't have the mana to activate both of them anyway. He vialed in the second one during Alex's turn, so it would be able to activate now, but he can't even activate it now because the Swords to Plowshares has to answer the Night of the Reliquary. Oh. Mark is gonna have to use the Flicker Wisp to actually have some pressure here. Wasteland, the second Wasteland now coming out from Alex, targeting Caracas. Mark decides to vial in Flicker Wisp to save his own Caracas, which I think is probably the correct play, because Mark needs land. Mark needs mana. He needs to actually be able to activate his Stoneforge Mystics, put a Battle Skull into play, put a Sword into play, not have to worry about not casting his creatures. So, Mark still sticking in here by the skin of his teeth. It's close, but he's still here. He's still here. We're still playing. Three mana, a Plague Engineer. That's pretty good. Names the, I believe Flicker Wisp is an elemental, so gets rid of that. Now the Questing Beast is able to attack again. Mark, I think, has to start blocking with the Stoneforge. Does not block with the Stoneforge Mystic. Decides to take it and go to 3. To be fair, Alex doesn't have like the reach to suddenly kill Mark here. Mark drawing Skyclave Apparition and saying go. Skyclave is a really good draw here. Gonna be able to take out either the Plague Engineer or the Questing Beast. Now I would... it's a tough call. It's actually not that sure. Alex right now holding 2 lands, so that's not ideal. And Skyclave is not an elemental, so I think the correct play here is to wait for attacks. If the Plague Engineer comes at you, you vial in the Apparition, you exile the Questing Beast, and then you block the Plague Engineer. Alex would still have a 4/4. Okay, no. Mark comes in with the Batter Skull. Of course. Yeah, no. Batter Skull... Yeah, Alex is not going to attack with the Plague Engineer because he knows Mark has the Batter Skull. The Batter Skull is put into play, and Alex actually dissuaded here from attacking with the Questing Beast as well. Now, he doesn't know about the Skyclave Apparition, of course, but even still, this is not a favorable attack for him. Now, he does still have 2 Death Touchers on the field, so he also is still at 26 life, so Alex is not in any danger of dying here. Mark drawing a Swords to Plowshares for the turn. That's what you want to see. Can't quite see what Mark's 4th card is, but of the 3 that we do know, Swords to Plowshares and Skyclave Apparition is a pretty good combination. Especially since Alex is now kind of stumbling after that really great start. It's just such a aggressive start. Now Alex is drawing a Greensun Zenith here. What could he find here? It's probably gonna be just a Knight of the Reliquary again. So X is 3. Yeah, definitely feels like a Knight of the Reliquary. Which is good, but again, Mark has the Skyclave apparition. He's fine, just waiting, seeing what happens. Man, Mark, if you're watching this, you have some balls of steel, sir. Just not blocking with the Stoneforge Mystics. I think I would have cashed out sooner, but yeah, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is how the game plays out, and it's fine. Knight of Autumn, of course, is also an option. I would imagine taking out the Batterskull, though the Ether Vial is also an option. Yeah. Takes out the Batterskull, that's the immediate threat. The Vial is a potential threat, but not necessarily. Now, of course, you and I know that it is, but from Alex's point of view, it's not a threat yet. Batterskull, however, is a problem right now. So gets answered. Now, unfortunately for Alex, he feels like he has an opening to attack with the Plague Engineer, which means Mark now has a choice of actually getting rid of it if he wants to. Now, I would imagine he at least vials in the apparition to get rid of the Questing Beast, and he's gonna have to block the Plague Engineer. Like, okay, I know I've said that a couple of times now, and Mark is hellbent on proving me wrong, but I think this is the moment where you block the Plague Engineer. Please, Mark, just block the Plague Engineer, please. So, the Questing Beast gets plowed. That's fine. I still can't quite see what Mark's last card is. Vials in the apparition, uses it to get rid of the Plague Engineer. That's fine. Man, just... And another Skyclave apparition. My god, Mark! Mark was looking like he was on death's door, and now he's just top decking his way out of it, and Alex just not drawing what he needs. Still has at least one land in hand, and looks like a Once Upon a Time or a Greensun Zenith. No, that's a Greensun Zenith. Okay, so Alex not drawing completely dead, but Zenith coming out for 3 here again. Just Alex, after that fantastic start, is just not able to fully close it out. Now, it's looking like Alex is going for a Knight of the Reliquary, which again Mark has an answer for. It's just Mark also going to be able to activate the Stoneforge Mystic to put these sort of Fire and Ice into play here. Just overall in a fantastic place here. Could be better because he's still at 3. But now Skyclave Apparition coming down gets rid of the Knight of Reliquary, and again Alex just not able to actually put something into play that's relevant. Mark finds a Roshan port. This is going to be able to turn off the Gaia's Cradle if he wants to. He doesn't? Okay. Equips the sword to one of the Skyclave apparitions. I would imagine the one that exiled the Knight of the Reliquary, because when it dies, it would get a 3/3. Alex forced to block with the Birds of Paradise, because if he doesn't, Mark could just shoot the bird and yeah, the result is just all around worse. Just so much worse. Alex again, Green Sun Zenith finding another Knight of the Reliquary. So Alex also just drawing incredible here. Mark now drawing an Ether File, so it's stumbling a little bit. He also drew a no. The last card in Mark's hand was a Spirit of the Labyrinth, which unfortunately against Alex is not the best card. It's also not the worst. It's not very good against a Knight of the Reliquary, but we'll take it. Mark gonna cast this third Stoneforge Mystic finally after all this time. I would imagine Jitte, yeah. Mark finds Jitte. And still somehow we're in this game. It's a great game, absolutely. I believe that was a Scavenging Ooze for Alex, which is a fairly good draw here, actually. There are now a couple creatures in the graveyard, I think. Yeah, no, there are definitely now creatures in the graveyard, which means that Scavenging Ooze is going to be able to eat some cards. It's going to get bigger, it's going to be able to block quite profitably, and then Alex, again, also still in this game. At 32 life, he can take a couple hits. He cannot take a couple hits off that sort of Fire and Ice, however. That's a little bit more problematic. Mark can't quite make out what he drew. Thinking of maybe casting the Spirit of the Labyrinth? No, he drew a Thalia. That's not the worst. It is a first striker, so it can block the Knight of Autumn. But it's also not the best, because Alex has plenty of mana right now. He's not too worried about just a lone Thalia, I would imagine. Alex activating the Knight during Mark's end step. Finds a Horizon Canopy. Is gonna sack it, add more lands to the graveyard, also draw a card, just trying to find some sort of opening. But Mark has a whopping 6 creatures on board right now. And if Alex attacks, Mark is coming back with a vengeance. Bit of mana remaining from the Gaia's Cradle. Gonna exile just Swords to Plowshares. I think the Scooz is out of creatures to eat. Just Swords to Plowshares flying everywhere, making this Scooz's life miserable. Now, Alex drew a Green Sun Zenith, and I think I saw a Swords to Plowshare, so just still not putting creatures in the graveyard. But maybe that's what's gonna have to happen here. Script Ranger coming out from the Green Sun Zenith. And that is indeed a Swords to Plowshares. Just creatures cannot be in graveyards this game for whatever reason. Now this Script Ranger, I'm not sure what this is gonna be able to do here. Like, it can untap the Knight of the Reliquary, can help Alex make some mana, but that's not what's holding him back here. Mark just has too much going on right now. Now Alex has too much life for Mark to attack through a Knight of the Reliquary, and Mark has too many blockers for Alex to attack with the Knight of the Reliquary. But does so anyway. Now Mark blocks with Thalia, activates Caracas, puts it back in his hand, and this is just a complete stalemate at this point. Just nothing happening. Another Skyclave apparition for Mark. What are these draws? Just triple Stoneforge, triple Skyclave, and now filing in the Skyclave, gets rid of the Knight. Again, being exiled, so no food for the Scavenging Ooze. And Alex just not able to put enough power on the field. Now, Alex is going to be able to untap the Knight in response. It's possible he might have something. Like, he might be playing Sujiri's Step. I don't think that's a thing though in Maverick. Like, not even in green white, let alone Abzan. But maybe I'm wrong. Oh, he's thinking of Wasteland. Yeah, I like that. Like, if you're gonna lose the Knight anyway, go for the Wasteland. Make Mark's life as hard as you can, because you're gonna need the breathing room at this point. Yeah, Wasteland coming in. The Knight being exiled here. So now the Skyclave apparition has 2 Knights and a... Was it a Plague Engineer? I forget. Doesn't matter. Mark still has the Jitte, still has Thalia, still has the Spirit of the Labyrinth. And now is able to attack with the sorted up Skyclave apparition. Now, I would assume Alex decides to block with the Scavenging Ooze here. He might take it, though. Like, both options are not ideal here. Like, either you block, you trade, and then the sword ends up on a different creature, or you chump with the Knight of Autumn. That's an option too. Or if you don't block, then something gets shot by the sword. It's just not where you want to be here. Not where you want to be. The Caracas going down. Mark decides, you know what, I'm going to use the mana. Put my Jitte into play. Might as well. Doesn't have Caracas anymore. Files in Thalia anyway. The Skoo's now able to eat the Knight of Autumn. Again, very, very heads-up play. I completely missed that line, but again, I'm not the Maverick player. It's Alex, and Alex is a pretty good Maverick player. Definitely one of the best Dutch Maverick players. Maybe one of the best Dutch players, but you'll never hear him say that. The Script Ranger coming in, attacking for 1, but leaving Alex open for some really nasty attacks here. But maybe it's enough. Maybe it's enough. We'll see. That is a Swords to Plowshare. That is the fourth Swords to Plowshares that Mark has seen this game. He has just seen all the answers. Like, we haven't had a recruiter yet. We haven't had a jailer yet. It's just been tutors and answers and a one-off Thalia. That's what we've seen this game. Now, he had a Flicker Wisp. One Flicker Wisp. But just mono answer. And now the Skoos gets plowed. And Mark finally finding the opening he needs to attack with these apparitions, activating the Sword of Fire and Ice. He's gonna be able to shoot the Script Ranger. No, he isn't, because Alex also has Swords to Plow. Just mono exile everywhere. Like, two creature decks and two creature decks just not doing anything. So, Mark now going back to 6. He's in a pretty good spot. Spirit coming down, which is going to be able to block an apparition, which is going to give Alex another 3/3. And Alex is actually still here. I do believe he's taking 5 damage. Yeah. This game actually so hot right now that my PC couldn't handle it. So kind of awkward jump cut. It's fine. We'll make it work. We'll get there. It's past midnight. I got work tomorrow. It's fine. Like, this is important. This is important stuff. This needs to happen. And just like this, Alex is just back in it. Decides to swing with everything. He has the life total to do it. Oh. Actually, he's at 34. Mark now finally vialing in the Spirit of the Labyrinth. A 3/1, so is going to be able to trade with the Spirit. So that's a little unfortunate for Alex. But he did have a pretty massive swing back. He's not all the way there. Like, let's be very clear on that. Mark still has plenty of creatures. He still has plenty of equipment. He's still going to be able to put plenty of pressure on Alex here. Mark, considering blocks, finally decides, you know what? I'm gonna block with one of the Stoneforge Mystics. I think that's a good block, yeah. Because that Script Ranger is still presenting a clock. It's now a 5-turn clock, but it's still a clock. Now, if Mark decides to re-equip the sword and actually connects with the sword, then it's no longer a clock. And I don't quite remember what Alex's last card was, but does seem to be somewhat relevant. Oh, no, he fetches Dryad Arbor and decides to chump with it. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Like, right now, all Alex is going on is the Script Ranger. He's gonna try and protect it. And it seems like he's not gonna be able to do it. Mark drawing his second Flicker Wisp. Gonna be able to remove the Dryad Arbor, get through some damage, and that's gonna be in the end of the Script Ranger, I would assume. I don't remember what his last card was. Oh yeah, it's a Bayou. Yeah, that's of course. Script Ranger is still able to untap a creature, which means the Spirit is gonna block. He not able to untap the Spirit. Let me look up Script Ranger again. He should be able to, right? I don't see why not, but the Script Ranger is going to be the thing that's untapped here, going to be chumping the Skyclave Apparition. Alex again attacking. Trying to keep up that pressure, but I don't think the pressure is going to do it. Oh, he does have the Dryad Arbor as a blocker for the Skyclave Apparition, so he is still somewhat fine. Mark decides to again jump block with a Stoneforge Mystic. Now Alex is going to play a Gadok Teague. If he can find out which lands he actually needs to tap. There we go. So, Gadok Teague coming down. Again, mostly going to be a chump blocker for the Skyclave Apparition, I would imagine. It's just... like, there are things happening, finally. There are things happening. But both players just kind of not having the right thing happening. The Jite is equipped on the Flicker Wisp, is gonna be able to get in. I wonder if it was maybe better to equip the sword? Maybe not, though. Yeah, because now Jite is able to actually pressure Alex's creatures, which is an issue. Alex playing a Thalia is not really going to do much here. Our drawing didn't quite catch that. And again, Mark having pressure here. And this might be enough to break through Alex, but Alex still has a lot of life going for him. A lot of life. Goes to 25. There's 2 damage going to the Spirit, and then 1 counter of the Jite is going to take care of that card. Take care of the token. And now Mark is looking pretty good. Alex attacking with Teague. Is he attacking with Teague? Mark decides to take 2. Sure, why not? Why not, Mark? Use your life total as a resource. I'm in it. And Alex decides he's had enough and we're going to game 2. Alright, both players starting game 2 on a mulligan to 6. Alex, despite having some really strong games this evening, it's looking like he's finally met his match in Death and Texas here. Though, to be fair, Mark had some absurd draws. Like, just I think he saw almost all of his removal that game, and maybe I didn't see the 4th Skyclave Apparition. short of that, I think he saw all his actual removal, which is insane. Now, Mark starting off fast with Ether Vial, Rashad Port, and Alex not having a turn 1 play, but not having a turn 2 play. Going for Savannah Bayou Script Ranger during Mark's end step. Takes his turn. Mark decides, you know what? Turn off that Bayou. Wasteland for Alex, which is probably going to take out the Rashad Port. Yeah. Now I don't see what the rest of his land is. I think I see Source the Plowshares for Alex here. Might be the old bordered Fatal Push. Mark decides to return the favor with Wasteland hitting Bayou. Alex doesn't seem to be short on lands here, so this Wasteland is not really gonna hurt him. Getting rid of the Rashad port's probably nice. Getting a bit of early damage off this Script Ranger is welcomed. Mark ticking his vial up to 3. Place a Plains, place a Mother of Runes. Now, looking at Mark's hand, he still has another Plains. He has 2 Skyclave Apparitions, and I think that's the Spirit of the Labyrinth again. Skyclave Apparition, just a beastly card. One of the best printings from... what was it again? Actually, I've forgotten what set that is. No, it's Zendikar, right? Yeah, I think it's Zendikar. And they say White never gets anything. Oh, no, White still has issues, to be fair. But Skyclave Apparition is not one of those issues. Not by a long shot. Now we get a Dryad Arbor fetched by Alex. Drawing another land. I think Alex has enough lands here, despite Mark trying his best to deny him land. I'm pretty sure it's sorts the plowshares I see from Alex here. Decides to float 2 mana. Yeah. 1 green, 1 black, it seems. Now he has 2 green and a black. Oh no, 2 green and a white. For a Knight of Autumn. This Knight of Autumn most likely gonna get rid of Ether Vial. Yeah, Mark deciding to just vial in the apparition. Is he gonna vial in the apparition? I mean, if he vials it in, I don't think he's gonna exile the Knight of Autumn. Like, that does nothing. That just gives Alex the opportunity to make his Knight of Autumn bigger. Is he? No, he's going for the Script Ranger, right? That has to be the correct play here. He could think of exiling the Dryad Arbor, but I think the Script Ranger is potentially the most dangerous here. Sort the Plowshares coming down for the Mother of Runes, so it was a Source the Plowshares. Alex using his Script Ranger shenanigans to just power out a bunch of cards here. Mark despite losing his vial, now draws a council's judgment. Not quite in a position where that's going to be relevant, but as we saw, Alex can have some pretty strong, dangerous creatures, like the Plague Engineer that he has in hand. So probably not the worst thing to have here. Alex attacking, Mark deciding not to block because he doesn't want to give Alex the 1/1. Plague Engineer coming down. Now, he could be naming Core or Spirit. Try and hit. Probably Spirit, try to hit both the Apparition and the Spirit of the Labyrinth. He could also decide to just ignore it, name Human, make it impossible for Mark to put down Mother of Runes, making it impossible to put down Thalia. But those are not cards in Mark's hand right now. Mark needs to decide whether or not he's actually worried about that Plague Engineer. I mean, it is pretty obnoxious, to be fair. That dice seems to indicate that this is going to turns, and if that's the case, then I don't see Alex winning this game. So I think we're going to give this one to Mark. The dice I'm talking about is the one between the... No, that dice was to indicate the fact that the Script Ranger was exiled by the Skyclave Apparition. Alright. So, Mark blocking, going to 14, then plowing. Didn't quite catch that. Alex going to 17. What am I missing here? I think he plowed the... Look away for 2 seconds. Then this happens. Anyway, Mark plays a recruiter. I'm gonna look for something to do here. He might just go for the Stoneforge Mystic. Stoneforge Mystic, then getting a better skull. Yeah, he goes for the Mystic, casts the Mystic. Given the current board state and what Mark has in hand, he decides to go for Jitte. I think it was somewhat safe to go for a Batter Skull here. You have plenty of mana. You have an answer for any large threat that Alex might be able to play here, but fair enough. Mark decides, you know what, I'm going for the Jitte. I'm gonna try and control the board some more. That's fine. Now, Alex attacking for 4 here. Mark decides to take it. I feel like he could have traded with the Knight of Autumn. I guess it's good that he didn't, because now this Scavenging Ooze is not going to be as big, but it's still pretty big. Like, the Scavenging Ooze is not a card you want to be seeing here. And the Jitte is definitely gonna help try and keep the Skoos at bay here. Have a Blackstones of True Care coming down from Mark. Alex is still holding, looks like a Bayou and... Not quite sure. Definitely a Bayou. Mark plays the Jitte, plays the Skyclave Apparition, gets rid of the Scavenging Ooze. Response, Alex decides to eat his own Mother of Runes. In a little bit more life. And then the Skoos unfortunately gets exiled. So that Skyclave Apparition again has a 2-mana card under it. And Mark is not looking too bad. Like the signing factor here is probably gonna be the Jitte. Alex needs an answer for that. Or just get rid of the creatures that Mark has, but I don't see it happening. Yep, Mark equipping the Jitte. To the Stoneforge Mystic. Be kinda interesting. Yeah, I guess it doesn't really matter. Yeah, no, it doesn't matter. Could have been the Recruiter. Jitte gonna take care of the Dryad Arbor. Now we have Mother of Runes coming down from Mark. And now it's looking really bad for Alex. It's looking really bad for Alex. Because Mark still has the Council's Judgment. Coming next turn, he's gonna have some very nice protection for his creatures. He still has the Jitte that's doing things. And Alex just not doing all that much. Now, I don't know if this is a bad matchup for Maverick. I don't know if this matchup is supposed to be Death and Tax's favorite, but looking at the way these two games have played out, I wouldn't be surprised if it is, actually. Alex playing a Caracas is now, I think, holding a Bayou and a Swords to Plowshares. Definitely holding a Swords to Plowshares. Uses it to get rid of the Mother of Runes, which needs to happen right now. But yeah. Just not great. Not great. And now Mark can decide to equip the Jitte to the Apparition. And then he has to use the counter to make sure that his Apparition doesn't die. His draw for the turn looks like a Flicker Wisp. Yeah, that's a Flicker Wisp. Also still has the Council's Judgment, but I think it's a bit too early to fire that off right now. Especially when you still have the Jitte to take care of the Spirit. Let's play the Flicker Wisp. Alright, just get rid of that thing. Equip the Jitte to the Recruiter of the Guard. That's fine. Comes in, does 3 damage. Gets 2 charge counters. Stoneforge Mystic now coming out for Alex here. Most likely going to be, again, a better Skull, because still no Kaldra. Though I don't know if Maverick would want to play Kaldra. It could be. Yeah, I'm not an expert on Maverick. Sword of Fire and Ice being found, cast, and then equipped to the Stoneforge Mystic. That's nice. It means that the Jitte is not necessarily going to be able to kill the Stoneforge Mystic before an attack. After an attack, sure, it would take a lot of counters, but And now Mark decides to fire off the council's judgment, gets rid of the sword. The Jitte goes to the Flicker Wisp, it seems. Gets rid of the Stoneforge Mystic, quite handily, and then gets in for 6. And I hate to say it, but I think that's all she wrote for Alex. He's gonna try it one more time with Once Upon a Time. And Once Upon a Time, he looked at the top 5 cards of his deck and he found a Knight of the Reliquary. That's not bad. Not great either, but it's something. Now, let's see. How many lands does Alex have in his graveyard? He needs at least 4. The answer is 6. So that's an 8/8. That means that at least the Jitte is not going to be able to answer the Knight right now. Revoker coming in from Mark, just have all the answers. Just turn off your Knight. It's like, oh, that's a sweet Knight. You're not going to use it, though. Alex now apparently looking through his trade binder. I think the writing is on the wall here, and I think Alex knows. Maybe what happened there is that Alex loaned some cards. Yeah, no, that he sees it, the game is over, and Alex ends the evening on a 2-1, and GG's.